All right, welcome. So, how to achieve dopamine balance is the title of today's video. This video is going to be all about achieving dopamine balance. I just made a video on the benefits of dopamine detoxing and creating what I call dopamine balance. And you can go check that video out if you're interested in the benefits of this practice. But this video is the practical steps on how to actually achieve dopamine balance, how to get to a state of homeostasis within the brain, right? How to regulate the dopamine system, right? I will teach you how to beat overstimulation and return to a stable level of dopamine in the brain. We aren't here to mess around, so let's get right into it. When I was younger, I used to procrastinate a lot. In school, I would always find that everything came easily to me. Still, I couldn't find a purpose or a reason to keep me engaged. So I'd often fall off or get distracted, doing the bare minimum to get by, but never working to my real capacity. This is because from an early age, I was addicted to video games and television, the first versions of instant gratification that I would seek. And then it grew into other addictions. But the premise was always consistent. Whatever was most stimulating and enjoyable to me would get my full attention, while everything else would become secondary. Right? This, as it turns out, is a superpower that can be used to achieve great levels of success, but back then was what kept me addicted to the normal vices of modern humans. But once I realized that this was due to a dopamine addiction, I was able to overcome these obstacles and use this obsession to progress in my real goals instead of staying trapped in a cycle of addiction, right? So it's not... Obsession itself is not bad, but what you become obsessed over becomes who you are. And so if you become obsessed over things like video games, things like junk food, things like drugs, well, those become who you are. But if you become obsessed with business, if you become obsessed with progression, if you become obsessed with self-improvement, those things become who you are. It all changed when I decided I was going to be a professional snowboarder. I realized that I needed to get my shit together and enter a lifestyle of rigid discipline and training, the very lifestyle I live now. But at the time, I didn't know how to get there. Then I discovered dopamine detoxing, the real version, not the BS 24-hour challenges, but the lifestyle change that would completely transform my productivity, discipline, and results. This was the key that I was missing my whole life, to remove false stimulation and replace it with work and training, the things I truly found enjoyable, but could never seem to generate the energy or motivation to stay consistent in. This guide is going to teach you exactly how I did that. So before we get into the actual guide, I just want to let you guys know, for anyone who is serious on their self-improvement journey and wants to take it to the next level, I'm creating a program called the Academy of Self-Mastery, which is going to be a full spectrum program giving detailed courses, detailed education on all topics regarding self-improvement and helping you to implement them into your lifestyle. This will include courses on things like sexual transmutation, routine mastery, habits, dopamine detoxing, fitness and training, diet, and much, much more. So if that's something you guys are interested in, you can go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram and I will get you guys into the early access for the program. Right now, because it's not complete, I'm running early access for it. So anybody who wants to get in for early access, you can just send me a DM, and what will happen is you'll essentially be put on a list and you will get the first links in order to join the program. You will be the first allowed to join before the program actually goes live. And then you will also be able to get access to some of the courses for free up until the point the program is actually released. So if that's something you guys are interested in, go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram using that first link in my description. So the first section of this video is dopamine detox, right? I'm going to be teaching you exactly what a dopamine detox is and basically explaining the concept before we go into how to do it. The pain of living in overstimulation. When living in overstimulation, you think you are doing the activities that you find fun, pleasurable, and satisfying. But in reality, these activities are only false forms of joy or pleasure. In fact, you are depleting your brain's ability to find enjoyment in everyday activities, which leaves you sinking deeper into this dopamine hole. The dopamine hole is the state in which your dopamine sensitivity is so low that only the pleasurable activities seem fun. Pleasurable meaning like instant gratification pleasure. So only these activities seem fun or enjoyable. These are the only things that give you a baseline level of enjoyment. And that is just because of your dopamine sensitivity. It's not because these things are actually somehow better than any other activities. It's just based on dopamine sensitivity. Still, these are the very activities sinking you deeper into this hole, right? So the same activities that are the only things you find fun when in this state are actually the same activities causing you to be in this state. This becomes an endless cycle that leaves the individual with less motivation and overall enjoyment in life, and it becomes dull and boring. Even things you used to find fun will no longer appeal to you. And this isn't just you growing up, right? But this is the result of wiring your brain for instant gratification. A lot of people do think that it's just a part of growing up, right? You get over these things that you found fun as a kid because you're growing up. But in reality, it's just that your dopamine sensitivity is different, right? Your brain is wired now for instant gratification versus delayed gratification. And when it's wired for delayed gratification, certain things like putting in effort, right, running around, movement are actually fun and enjoyable and cause a level of pleasure. And that's what we experienced as kids. But as we grew up, our dopamine sensitivity changed and our brain rewired for instant gratification. Even the pleasurable activities become dull at a certain point, but now you require them just to feel normal. This leaves you in a chronic state of pain and displeasure, a curse for anybody trying to become more productive or achieve success. The dopamine detox lifestyle. The dopamine detox lifestyle looks like removing all forms of overstimulation from your life. Any type of unnatural stimuli must go and be replaced with a healthy alternative. Junk food, porn, video games, social media, drugs, alcohol, and over-sexualization are all great examples of overstimulation or instant gratification. These are activities that invoke a heavy spike in dopamine, causing them to be highly addictive. But the issue with this is that dopamine then returns back to baseline. But due to the extremity of these stimuli, it actually returns below baseline levels, leaving you with less motivation to engage in harder or more difficult tasks. Over time, this creates a deficit or desensitization to dopamine. The alternative, however, is delayed gratification, which is any activity that requires effort now, but creates some form of satisfaction or positive result. These activities have the opposite effect on our dopamine baseline. As we complete work tasks that are engaging, we actually become more motivated to do more work. The dopamine detox lifestyle looks like removing all of these forms of instant gratification and instead only engaging in activities that are positive, delayed gratification, right? So positive activities are things that will result in a reward later on, right? So something like starting a business will pay me for the rest of my life because I'm working and putting in effort now, right? Versus if I was to smoke weed this morning instead of going and working, what will happen is I'll feel pleasure in that moment, and for the rest of my day, I will be in more of a pain state because of that choice. Versus this choice, I'm in discomfort now, but the rest of my day will be significantly better as a result. So that's one way to decide if it's instant or delayed gratification. Sometimes, like for me, I enjoy this work, but there's a level of effort, there's a level of discomfort associated with doing this instead of what might just be easy, right? So identifying not just how it feels in the moment, because a lot of people love their sport, but over the long term, is it a positive result or a negative result, right? So even if you love your sport, it still takes effort is the point. It takes work, it takes effort to do it, right? And so for that effort, are you getting a long-term reward? Or are you getting to feel the pleasure now for a long-term consequence? That's how you can identify the difference between the two. So this can be difficult as our world is designed in such a way that makes these forms of overstimulation easily available. And so our only solution is to create the discipline required to refrain from these activities and stay focused on our goals and the work it will take to get there. You might think that this sounds like a boring life. Still, On the contrary, especially for masculine men, this lifestyle is much more satisfying and enjoyable than the sedentary, unpurposeful life of overstimulation. You will essentially identify each form of instant gratification in your life, remove it, and replace that activity with a healthy alternative. Instead of eating junk food and sugar, we can eat whole and nutritious foods. Instead of scrolling all day, we can read a book or work on a business. Instead of video games, we can start to work out and exercise, so on and so forth. Why you should commit to this journey. If you're wondering, why would I even do this? It sounds extreme, right? The answer to that question is really up to you, as there are an endless number of benefits from this lifestyle. But let me put it this way. If you can commit and follow through on this change, you'll become more motivated, disciplined, focused, and overall, you will achieve a higher level of life satisfaction. I just made a video on the benefits of this practice, so watch it if you haven't already done so. And that is the one I talked about at the beginning of this video. So if you need more motivation as far as this practice goes, go and check out that video. But if you want to do this and you know you want to do this, you can continue watching because this is the practical steps. But no matter who you are, this will be worth it, as it will allow you to have more freedom, as the chains of addictions no longer hold you down. Plus, if you are looking to become successful or just want to see more progress in your life, work, sport, or school/studies, this lifestyle will help you optimize your brain for progress and hard work, right? So being in this delayed gratification mind state essentially makes you primed for difficult work, makes you primed for effort, right? And that is what you need to be successful in pretty much any field of life, no matter what you actually do. And so this is going to be a key practice for those who want to become successful, because it will allow you to actually optimize your brain, rewire your brain specifically to be able to progress and do the hard work associated with achieving that goal. When you are addicted to overstimulation, it becomes much harder to engage in challenging work, as the source of instant, easy, and high-level stimulation is always available. This means you will constantly feel this pull to give up on the workout or walk away from the work, and instead go numb or stimulate yourself through the instant gratification activity. This makes staying focused on work more difficult, making it nearly impossible to progress in whatever you're working towards. If that's not enough, then the simple fact that it will make everything in life more enjoyable might be. It will create a state of being that will allow for deeper levels of pleasure and enjoyment from everyday activities. It will paint your life in this new light, making everything more blissful and fulfilling. So, achieving a level balance, right? How do we actually achieve a level dopamine balance? The first key to this is understanding instant versus delayed gratification. Instant gratification is any activity that gives you instant pleasure, but will result in a negative return. Delayed gratification is any activity that requires effort up front, but results in a positive return. When it's put like this, it makes obvious sense. Do the things that will create a positive return, right? But the issue is that most of us have been wired for instant gratification. We have become accustomed to putting in little effort for a lot of reward. So when we are asked to put in a lot of effort for less reward, we do not want to engage, as this isn't our normal hit of instant and easy pleasure that we are used to, right? So because we don't instantly get hit with the pleasure and enjoyment associated with working on our business, we end up wanting to give up, just like that. Right? And so we need to rewire our brain to think in the opposite sense, right? We need to rewire our brain to think in the opposite sense. Push through the effort now so that I can be rewarded later on. And if you stack the effort, stack the wins, those rewards will compound and they will continue coming as you go and as you live your life. And that's the goal, that's the idea, is you want essentially a slew of positive rewards coming your way and continuously compounding on top of themselves, while all the effort that's needed to attain that is already done. Instant gratification are things like junk food, porn, video games, social media, drugs, alcohol, and over-sexualization. These activities seem enjoyable now, but in the long run are detrimental to our health and well-being. However, delayed gratification like meditation, purposeful work, Exercise, reading, journaling, yoga, and eating clean aren't as attractive now and require some level of effort or discomfort in the moment, but are going to benefit you in the long run. We need to remove instant gratification and restore a level balance by only engaging in delayed gratification, which is as it should be. Only engaging in the activities that will benefit us in the long run. Why engage in something that is without a purpose or that will only harm you in the end? People will say it's good to have fun, but they define fun wrong. What's fun about killing yourself slowly with alcohol or depleting your vital energy through a sexual spasm? There is only short-term pleasure, which is a cheap reward. This is fleeting and not even worth the effort, as the high is short-lived and followed by a greater low. Mindset. To succeed on this journey, you must have a growth mindset. It requires that your primary focus in life be progress and success, not enjoyment and pleasure. Though you will experience these things on the path, if it is your primary focus, you will eventually stray and fall victim to the pull to give in to these vices. Your mindset must reflect a desire to progress and grow in all possible ways. This will make finding new things to do on this journey easy, as most delayed gratifications are catered towards long-term growth and success. So with a mindset focused on development and progress, you will find it natural to seek out these activities and say no to the ones that hinder your growth. Goals. Another key to being successful on this path is to have goals. Without goals, it will be next to impossible to stick to this lifestyle, as the whole point is to leave your time, attention, and energy available for working towards and achieving these goals, right? If you don't have goals, like there's no delayed gratification activities that are going to seem like there's a point to them, because you don't have anywhere you're trying to go. You don't have anything you're trying to achieve. And so to meditate now when you don't know why you want to meditate for tomorrow is pointless, right? Because the reward for meditation comes tomorrow. If your goal is to become successful, well, okay, meditation is going to make my brain work better. It's going to make me more aware. And so if I want to be successful tomorrow, meditation today is worth the effort. When you are sedentary and have nothing to work toward, you naturally drift to instant gratification to drown out the voice seeking to achieve more. The purpose of this journey is to refocus from pleasure now to fulfillment in the future, and that will come from you becoming your best version of yourself and achieving your highest aspirations. So before you even set out to begin this practice, set clear goals and determine what your life would need to look like to achieve them. Then replace your instant gratification activities with the ones that align with these goals. These goals will also serve as a guideline to keep you on track as you question or doubt yourself, or if you become tempted to stray off the path, right? These goals will be essentially your reminder to stay focused, your reminder for why to keep moving forward, why not to stray. Exercise for stimulation. Now, once you begin this journey, you will crave the old forms of stimulation, and to counter this, I recommend exercising as much as possible. This will give you a new outlet, but also, over time, serve as a new form of stimulation for your brain, helping to reprogram and rewire it for delayed gratification. Plus, it will aid in the healing process of your brain. Exercise is great, no matter who you are, and its purpose in a dopamine detox is deeply important. Without exercise, you will likely go insane. Exercise will help regulate your mind, serve as an outlet for your energy and pent-up stress, and will be an activity that will be engaging and relaxing if done correctly. This allows you to replace most vices with a simple daily workout. Plus, it will put you in a better state of mind and help to build upon the snowball of momentum needed to break through the current self into a new version of you. It will make being productive in your work and studies much easier because of this fact. So based on where you're at in your fitness journey, find a routine that works for you and stick to it, as this will be a major factor in your success on this dopamine detox journey. The next thing is routine and habits. So the next step is to create a new set of habits and then build a consistent daily routine around them. Just as we have created habits out of our addictions, we will now create habits out of our replacement activities for these addictions. Then we will develop a routine around these habits to maintain this flow every single day. The best way to stay consistent with something is to do it at the same time every single day. Over time, this develops habits, and once something is a habit, it is automatic, and therefore easy to do. When we create habits out of the instant gratification activities, we continue to do them even after they stop being rewarding, which is a problem because the longer we do them, the deeper into the dopamine hole we get, and therefore the more attached to these addictions we get. Over time, this develops habits, and once something is a habit, it is automatic and therefore easy to do. When we create habits out of the instant gratification activities, we continue to do them even after they stop being rewarding, which is a problem because the longer we do them, the deeper into the dopamine hole we get, and therefore more attached to these addictions. But the same is true for the good habits, right? Once they become habits, we do them even when it is hard and therefore receive the benefits of staying consistent, reinforcing our desire to keep doing them. Without consistent instant gratification, we will want to develop a routine that allows us to have something important to focus on. Based on the times a day we work best and what our schedule allows, we need to select specific times for certain activities and stick to these time blocks every day. Only adjusting the schedule as we go. So not adjusting the schedule before you start, creating the first schedule, starting, and then as you go, you can make adjustments. This way, we have something to work on at all times of the day, making it easier to forget about the old addictions. These are also prevalent now because you don't know what else to do with your time, right? You need something else to do. These are so much more important now because you have all of this open time in your day. This routine will prevent you from drifting, making it easy to stick to the delayed gratification activities. By staying consistent, we will create habits from these activities, making this routine automatic. This is a major superpower as our most productive day becomes a consistent habit that is effortless to follow, which creates a state of hyper-productivity and can lead to great results as we no longer need to fight through the resistance to get to this point of engaging in the delayed gratification, right? So just getting to the point where we're working no longer takes effort. It's just effort to work through the problem. I actually experienced this today. I'm finally in the point where this is a habit again. I wake up, I do my morning routine, and I go here and I record videos or I write scripts. Usually I'm recording them. But today I had to wake up a little bit earlier. I had to wake up an extra hour early because I had more content to record than a normal day. And I woke up, I got here, and I'm here. I didn't have to fight myself to get here. I didn't have to struggle with anything else that I would have done instead. I knew I was going to come here and record at least one video. And so I showed up, I started recording, and because I started early and I had more that I had to accomplish, I was able to just focus on the effort itself that it would take to get through each video. And because of that, normally my threshold is about one video. I was able to get 3 done so far today, and I'm not even 100% done with the recording. And so this is the advantage of this, delayed gratification mind state is my brain is primed to get to the point where I'm working. And so the effort required is just based on how much effort it will take for me to complete each video, not me convincing myself to start the work, which is where most people struggle. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you really enjoyed this, if you want help integrating this into your lifestyle, go and check out the Academy of Self-Mastery. Right now it's obviously early access, so just send me that DM on Instagram. And if you have any questions, you can also DM me about those. But if you enjoyed the video and if it was helpful, leave a like for me and go ahead and press the subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. But I do hope you guys enjoyed. I do hope this was helpful, and that's all I got for you guys, and I'm out of here. Peace.